I've shared a couple of reels recently, kind of starting to talk more openly about my own neurodivergence, or ADHD, which is not yet diagnosed, but I'm in the process of waiting for assessment. Yeah, I feel it feels like a big thing to start talking about, quite scary in some ways, I guess because of previous history of being judged, being told what to do, also some fear of that annoying, more than annoying sentence, everyone's autistic these days. But quite a few of you reached out in private messages to me. Late diagnosed people yourselves, and it just made me think this is something that needs talking about. And so I'm gonna just a little bit share my story, not the whole story, and I'm gonna be quite careful with myself today because I had a really hard week, so I'm just gonna be gentle. But I just felt like it's time to start talking about it because it's just so vitally important, and maybe in community with other people then we can help each other and support each other. So that's the plan. So yeah, I just want to go back a little bit in time and explain whether my story personally started. So I was actually diagnosed, as many women were, misdiagnosed, I believe, with bipolar in my mid-20s. Tried every medication under the sun, was frequently in psychiatric units. Really, really traumatic, horrendous time. Finally was put on lithium in my late 20s, early 30s, so about 15 years ago or something. And it did seem to help in some ways, and also had some really good therapy, thank goodness. Psychotherapy and some EMDR, and they really helped. But still a lot of struggles, still a lot of stuff going on. And then, I don't even know how long ago, I need to ask him. But a good few years ago now, I met somebody called Kieran Rose, who you might know as the autistic advocate. Total wonderful person. And we had a chat, and I was telling him randomly, not in any way connecting it to myself, about some work experience that I'd done when I was 17 at what used to be Mencap College for autistic adults and teens. And I was telling him how much I loved it and how I felt it felt so right, and I felt so comfortable, and he kind of he gave me this look, and he was like, I wonder why you associated with them so much. And I was like, oh, it just like was this wave. Oh, I can still feel it now. And my immediate feeling was just pure joy. because the autistic people that I'd met were just some of the most wonderful people I'd ever met, and I was like, I'm one of them. Lush. There was no negative stigma for me, thankfully, and because I've always worked with autistic people. Oh dear. So I guess a lot of the reason why I hadn't realised earlier is because I had in my head this image that so many of us do of the Rain Man, of all those American sitcoms, you know, with the white male autistic person, and it's so stereotyped. And that wasn't me, obviously, so therefore I wasn't autistic. So, and at that point I was delighted, but I thought, well, I'm just gonna sit with it for a while. I'm not gonna like delve right in. I'm just gonna see how that feels. At that point wasn't questioning the bipolar diagnosis. Oh gosh. So I guess it was maybe 5 years ago even that happened. But I guess the more I work with autistic people and see the huge spectrum, if you want to call it that, of people, like the whole range, it's just so broad that I guess I started to see myself more and more in certain traits in certain people, and more realised the things that I was struggling with. For sure, emotional regulation, coping with huge emotions, time. What's time? Reading people, getting super stressed about interactions with people, worrying about upsetting people, all sorts of things, which to me weren't autism because they weren't stereotypical autism traits as I'd seen it previously. So yeah, I guess more and more just over the past few months, it's just so blindingly obvious, partly from having taken a lot of time off work, coming back and realising, oh wow, no, I really do struggle with quite a lot of things. Yeah, like I've shared before, the work around the work that I do is unbelievably difficult for me. And so I guess it's got to the point now where if there are things that I can do that will help me, then it's totally worth looking into. And so now I have to admit that autism has become my special interest, or one of them, and I'm obsessed, especially with alexithymia right now. I'm just fascinated, and I'm just like imbibing everything that I can get my hands and my eyes and my brain on and around. So yeah, I'm waiting for autism assessment. I'm not on a waiting list for ADHD yet, partly because it just makes me mad that they're separate, because they shouldn't be. That's a whole other story. And I also am not even massively bothered about being diagnosed, because I know that I am. And actually, I'm more interested in learning how to help myself live better, live in a more flowy way with more understanding of myself and the world around me, and how I maybe fit in it or don't. And helping me in my work as well. So yeah, that's just a little quick bit of the history. There's a huge amount of sadness and anger right now around the misdiagnosis and what it's done to me physically. The drugs that I've been on have damaged my body, and that gives me so much anger that I need to just be careful with that. But yeah, I hope if you're listening to this that some of it maybe chimes with you or might help a little bit in your own processing of stuff. More than happy to talk to anybody that wants to hash stuff out. And yeah, if this is you and you're on this journey as well, then love to you, and yeah, you're awesome.